Hello, my name is Cody Kaler, and this is my special education interviews for EDL 853. This is Module 3. I interviewed for these interviews a SPED teacher at my high school, one of my administrators, and one of my pairs that I have regularly in my classroom. The first question we have is child find procedures, including what the cooperative uses as public awareness tools, screening practices, early identification measures, etc. The SPED teacher said that we are required to identify, locate, and evaluate all students with disabilities. So basically giving the definition there of child find procedures and explaining that. She next went through the IEP 504 plans established. As the students come into high school, a large percentage of those are already established. So a big part of their job is following through with those, adding and then also transitioning and removing accommodations for students. Testing and teacher-parent recommendations are also taken into account, of course. My administrator said that testing gives accurate results. We try to maintain becoming knowledgeable where that student continues to grow and maybe set back a little bit as they progress through high school. A great tool for that for us are their Aspire testing that kind of shows great results in both their reading and their mathematics scores. You can see maybe where they're struggling and maybe where they're being very successful. Also taking parent-teacher input as well. The paraprofessional that I have echoed that using the ACT Aspire data, also the recommendations of SPED staff, teachers, and parents. The second question, what they find to be the most challenging part of their role with regards to special education and why. The SPED teacher started off with consistent communication with all students and stakeholders. So that's incorporating a lot of people, teachers, staff, students, parents, among others. So consistent communication would be the big part. And then continued emphasis on improving goals laid out. The big part was echoed was like doing this and keeping this focus not just during or around the IEP meeting, but throughout the semester, throughout the school year, and really improving on those goals that we lay out. The administrator said to attempt to ensure that the best possible learning environment is created for the students at GHS. So creating that environment in which they will succeed. And that teachers are given the resources they need to create a positive learning environment, both SPED teachers and regular ed teachers. The para kind of echoed those with helping all students in their courses while pushing them to better themselves, so creating that rigor. The struggle to define what success is for each student individually is definitely one of the key points and something that my para feels very passionate about. What is the most rewarding part of their job when dealing with special education students, parents, and other teachers, and why? The most rewarding part of the job for the SPED teacher is definitely to see firsthand student success. So when a student comes back or we see them after high school and they are succeeding. A big part of this is transitioning into their post-high school careers and then also just for some graduation. The administrators also echoed that point. To see the students after they leave GHS. Our administrators are huge in making sure that we prepare our students for post-secondary life, whether that be college, whether that be career, and making sure they're able to succeed in whatever venture that might be. The para, seeing the sense of pride or accomplishment when a student succeeds in an area they have had difficulty in or have struggled in. That's their kind of aha moment and why they do the job that they do. What advice do they have on supervision of special education staff, including paras, speech pathologists, etc.? The big thing for the SPED teacher is to be available for others, to make sure that we check in with our paras and our staff regularly, whether that be on specific students, whether it be on how they're doing, or what they need to help their students in the classroom. And then a big part of that is just building the relationships with other members of the SPED staff as well. The administrators kind of really hit on maintaining open lines of communication and then being active in seeking updates. So checking in with staff, not just around those IEP times, but throughout the semester as they build relationships. And that comes with kind of being proactive and knowing the many students and as many as possible and their cases as possible. And then the para would be provide consistent and clear expectations for them to do their jobs and then also follow through with those. communicate with all staff, including paras. So they feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect with communication at times in our schools, but I feel like they think it's getting better. How do they work effectively with parents of special need children? So communication either through telephone or through email. And the big part of this, the SPED teacher shared with me, was to reach out early. So create that relationship early with the parent or the stakeholder, the guardian, whoever that might be, as well as with the student. And then also be real and forthcoming with where they're at and where we see them going with the goals that we have in use. The administrator said that communication is key. The parents can give us valuable insight into student needs and can work with us to give student opportunities to succeed. So that cooperation between parents and staff and students kind of all working together for a common goal. And the pair also highlighted some communication and wants to try to eliminate the disconnect between school and home and try to bring those two together more. How do they work with regular ed teachers, with students and special needs? So the SPED teacher starts out with the initial share of documentation so that the teachers are aware of the IEP. They offer clarification or help. I know always in my emails from several of our SPED teachers, they are more than willing to help clarify something, give me examples, etc. And they also require some weekly reports on some specific students that have aspects like those built into their plans. So weekly reports from the teachers, as well as their just little communication that they typically do. The administrator stated that they want to make sure that teachers are aware and knowledgeable of the students' needs and accommodations, and ensure that the teacher has the resources available to best serve all students. That could be a para. So we do have a para shortage, so trying to fill that and trying to stretch them as far as we can with our needs. It could be technology, smaller class sizes, etc. So anything they can do to help is definitely what they're trying to do, as long as it's in the best interest of students. The para works to meet the accommodations or the modifications that the student has in their plan, with a common goal with the teachers of success of the student at mind. What advice do they have for a first-year administrator? Definitely to build relationships. Seem to be like kind of this big thing. Get to know them, get to know the students and their needs. As long as the administrator is looking out for the best education possible for all students, they'll be right on track. The administrator stated to ask questions. The training beforehand, your master's courses, do not prepare you for the job, and you need to use your resources available to you. To ask people around you for their opinions and their experiences. Your best tools are the staff that you work with, because we all have the same goal, and that is to positively impact kids. And then the para, to get in and actually observe classes, to come into the room consistently and see how the classroom is operating, both in the growth opportunities as well as the low point and the difficulties that children and students work through. How do they describe the role of the special education teacher and the building principal? The SPED teacher highlighted collaboration. The teacher needs to do a good job of keeping the principal informed, so having that collaborative effort of information. The principal needs to be willing to become knowledgeable on the cases and the students along with their needs. So that's a lot of stuff to do, but they need to be able to take that step and be collaborative with the teachers and keep that consistent. An administrator kind of highlighted the same things, a cooperative effort. The building principal's role is to ensure that the staff has the resources and training necessary to ensure student success. And then communication is key in each individual case. So making sure that each individual case receives the attention it deserves and that they best serve all students. The para, they need to work together to ensure that the students are getting the necessary accommodations to ensure their success. So making sure that they have an environment in which they can learn, they have the resources, we follow the accommodations listed in the IEP, etc. What characteristics do they seek in aspiring administrators in regards to special education? So one that is driven to serve all students. That's the big part. Serving students with special needs, serving regular students or regular education students, all students. An administrator needs to make an effort in consistently being informed and active in students' education to grow, to try to create growth opportunities for special education students as well as regular education students. The administrator, the knowledge of the foundations of special education laws and best practices, so that kind of that foundational knowledge. But more importantly is a desire to help the kids in which they serve, and that includes all students. And then goes back to building relationships and building relationships with staffs and students to ensure that that communication and that teamwork kind of goes together. And the pair stated that administrators who get it, who are active in the classrooms and the alternative education areas. They see both the growth and the difficulties that occur daily and are active in that educational process. A big thank you from me as a teacher to SPED staff, administrators, and paras. The students here at GHS are greatly impacted in a positive way because of the work that the staff, the administrators, the paras do for all of our students. From a core teacher, I truly appreciate all of their help and their support, especially as I begin my career.